Poetry has always been something that came naturally to me, and with jazz, I also learned in like the documentary that sometimes poets would write the lyrics for the songs, and so I thought this could be like my way of combining two of those things, like what I do, and then adding it to like the jazz world of being the writer in that sense. The blues paint the starry sky, greeting me in the quiet of the night. When passing thoughts linger a little too long, I can't find my perception in the mirror. The sound of a mellow tune comforts the feeling. Oh, please may I not be misunderstood. My lips say one thing while your ears hear another, twisting my words till I dare not to speak. At the bat of an eye there lies what shall now be yours. Take this voice that I've only swallowed. In my possession it's been wasted away. So when you open your mouth, you'll finally hear me. Do you understand me now? Open your heart to what I mean, if only you heard me.
Hit it!
I really had fun doing the drumming piece in class. I didn't expect to like it so much. And so I thought having a rhythm piece would be interesting. Just like sonically, just something different, and it would like add to it instead of just a poem, you know?
It's the non-verbal.
Yeah, exactly.
Why photography? Okay. The gist of it is freezing a moment in time. Because I grew up around paintings and they weren't actual live performances, or just hearing the actual music is so different than being there in person. So actually being able to freeze those moments so other people can also look at them and enjoy those moments feels more intimate in a sense, even if you go to a jazz performance, I feel like looking back on those pictures and those moments of time feels more intimate because you're taking a sneak peek into that moment that person was having instead of just watching a performance or just hearing the music or just looking at a painting. Because a picture is an instant. A painting takes how long to paint? Our painting took, 3 weeks to paint? So, the moment is not as fresh in your mind as it is in a picture. Yeah.
I decided to write about what I would do for a collage instead. So it's basically just a bunch of like pictures reflecting on what I took from this class basically. And so using like the experiences, what I learned from this class to connect that to my personal life, and that's why it's titled Jazz Music History, because my jazz music history, because I kind of like related it back to myself a little bit. That was like my way of expressing you know, like how I really felt about this class and like how I benefited from that. And basically, yeah, I just chose to write about it because I'm like better with that than like trying to represent stuff with art, I feel like. So for the first picture, I was going to talk about how this class really taught me how to be more of an active listener instead of a like just hearing music. So when we would like listen to songs, we would really pay attention to the techniques that they use, and that kind of for me personally, I kind of related to that to my interest in DJing. So because I felt like these techniques really made me realize more like the actual mechanics of DJing, basically, because a lot of artists actually sample jazz songs for their music. So that is kind of, so my picture for that was going to be like a picture of Dead Mouse, because he was like an inspiration for me when it comes to DJing. So that was gonna be my first picture, and then for my second picture, I was going to use a picture from the Charlie Brown cartoon. I know it doesn't really make sense, but for me, the reason that I picked that is because the first time I ever really listened, like really enjoyed music, I feel like at a really young age, was from watching this episode of Charlie Brown, and there was this like jazz song that they played, and that's really like the first time I just like I felt something, you know, like from a song with no words, and like just the fact that it was a jazz song really is like special to me, because I like, that's just like the first time I ever really independently like felt something from a song. So that kind of paves the way for like my music taste and like the artists I would later learn to like.
So at first they're just kind of like, well, jazz instruments, you know. And I added the piano because I play piano and I am biased to my own instrument. Thank you very much. And I did clarinet because I don't play the clarinet, but the flute is not a very jazzy instrument. So, and I have friends who play the clarinet. I really liked it as a kid. I would have played the clarinet if I could understand how reeds work, basically. And the colorful like side is just kind of like, music itself is very colorful. It means a lot. It's very bright, and it's very, what's the word? Vivid.
I decided to paint this painting with a bunch of different components to jazz, especially with what I learned in this class. I didn't know much about jazz before taking this course, just because I never paid much attention to it. This class was my first time holding a pair of drumsticks ever in my life. So I included the drumsticks here. They're kind of small. I included the Harlem 125th Street sign in the corner. It's actually like one of my favorite parts of the painting, just because, you know, Harlem 125th Street goes hand in hand with jazz music. The jazz microphone, the drums that Professor Freeman played during his performance, which I thought was really cool because he didn't even mention that he could do that.
Well, I grew up all around jazz. Basically, my whole family, my mom and my dad used to collect black paintings, and a lot of them were about jazz. So like growing around such like a music and art focused family, even though they both did like stereotypically like more science, math based jobs, it was different. And yeah, not many people in my family play instruments, but jazz still had the biggest influence on me. So seeing that stuff around my house in particular, I saw these types of paintings without the faces, but you knew like it's more of a feeling than just like a structural thing. It's more of a feeling, basically. So my mom's favorite genre is jazz, so every morning she drove me to school, that's all we played. So yeah, so I kind of just embodied the feeling of it and what I saw around my house, and we got there.
So this painting is one of three, right? And I think the connectivity of the paintings is all one thing because it's three different perspectives connecting into one. I have the more music side of the painting, you know, I do a lot of music things. I play 3 instruments, I've sung my whole life. I write music, I sing music, I love music. And I got the music part of the paint with the instruments and the bright colors to reflect what music is. And throughout this class as well, there were a lot of moments where it was like, oh, I know what this means, or I know what that term is, or like hitting the drumsticks together. I'm like, well, I can do this.
It took me a while to figure out what kind of scene I actually wanted to create. And as a person who grew up in drama, I've done drama for, what am I, 12 years? Oh my god, this makes me feel so old. I did drama for 12 years, so the performance part of it was important to me because theater. So setting the stage and like having the like kind of like jazz bar feel, I thought would perfectly experience, like, especially because my parents met in a jazz club, I thought it would be like a good contribution to that. Yeah.
Significance of the spoon is like this is supposed to act as a drum / melting pot of like all the cultures. So I didn't include any cultural foods in my painting, but I did put the spoon just because, you know, it's part of the culture.
So, would you say this is a reflection of yourself after learning more about
After
jazz?
this jazz course, it definitely is. I had a lot of fun making this painting. At the beginning of the semester, I thought jazz was gonna be like one of those classes where I'm like, ugh, like I really have to do homework for this. But I had a lot of fun this semester, especially watching the documentary and learning about Nina Coltrane. I'm definitely grateful that I had this course.
I don't have as big of an afro as she does, but my mom did when she was growing up. But I feel represented in the point that this is something that came from, I don't want to say my people, but kind of like like as a black woman, the main people whose names I was hearing were like Ella Fitzgerald. So I feel like I was paying contribution to her as me, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So for my project on the documentary, my essay, I wrote about Nina Simone, and I learned so much about her, and I was really inspired by her story of just like not being understood by people and just having a really hard time in the spotlight in Hollywood. And so her songs, May I Not Be Misunderstood, I really resonated with that, and so I used some of the lyrics, like I incorporated that into the poem, and so I started with my idea and then added that in.
It was really nice to learn about the history of jazz, especially since it's so important to me as a songwriter, because I don't have that kind of background in like what it means, you know. I'm a white person, you know, like I didn't know the like full extent of the history until I took this class, and it's really interesting to learn about the more finer details, because if I'm going to write music that sounds like jazz, even if I'm not intending it to, I should at least have like a background of what the music means.
I knew a couple of like buzzwords in I used to play piano for 4 years, so I knew like the music part of it, but the actual history part of it I really didn't get to dive deep into because jazz was kind of just always there instead of like a learning process. So actually learning to who were the most influential people and how they influence the jazz world was very much different than hearing them. So,
I definitely gained a new appreciation for music. It sparked a new interest this course. I'm actually glad I got to take it, because at the beginning of the year when I found out I was in a jazz course, I was like, what am I gonna do in jazz? What am I gonna do in jazz? Well, honestly, it's been great. I really look forward coming to class, and I learned way more than I thought I would.
Before I thought I was like a good listener when it comes to that, but after this class it really like solidified how music is actually made and like why certain stuff sounds good and that's like something that I really loved about this class, I wasn't expecting that, so.
Music itself is very like it's important, and a lot of people have a lot of experience with it, and it means a lot. And it's nice to see how all these different perspectives sort of create, because you can't just it's not as simple as asking what is jazz. You can ask what is jazz to you, but there's not one definitive answer, because what it is an experience of all different sorts of people coming together to make music.
My hands
So,
are like
in-
super sweaty.
Introduce yourself.
No.
Okay.